BJ Mafia, what's poppin'? Jags fans, happy Friday, April 26th. We just concluded the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft yesterday evening, and as you guys can tell, man, I've got the biggest smile and the biggest grin on my face. I am so thrilled and just filled with excitement. I am the happiest man on earth for the next 48 hours after what has transpired yesterday evening. Not only did Trent Baalke absolutely cook up a masterclass, something that I'll dive deep into here momentarily, I know that each and every single one of you guys saw my Orlando Magic beat the Cleveland Cavaliers and ran them out of the building 121-83 last night, getting their first home playoff win in front of this Orlando crowd in over 13 seasons, man. And of course, I was working the game. You guys know that I covered the team. Wow, just what an evening it was for me. And I am just so excited, so happy. And I just really feel like the NFL draft is not going to go south. I really feel as if my excitement for the rest of this draft and the positivity that I have on this is that Trent Baalke is going to put a very good class together, especially in such a deep, talented class all over the board. But before I go ahead and dive deep into talking about Brian Thomas Jr. and the Jaguars selecting him, if you guys appreciate the work and all the Jaguars content that I make here on YouTube, make sure you guys go ahead and drop me a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe bell to stay tuned for more Jaguars content that I do here on YouTube, and make sure that you guys go follow me on my socials, especially on Twitter. I'm active and I'm on there every single day. The link tree will be in the description down below so that you guys can go ahead and check that out. But Jags fans, let's go ahead and talk about Brian Thomas Jr. now officially coming to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, when you take a look at the Jaguars, they had the absolutely perfect situation fall into their lap last night with the way that the board fell. Now, Laiatu Latu went 15th overall to the Indianapolis Colts, edge rusher from UCLA, and he was the first defensive player taken off of the board, and that was perfect for the Jaguars. The Jaguars had their cherry picking of guys like Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, Quinyon Mitchell, Terrion Arnold, whoever they wanted to go out there and get. They had those options, and they obviously decided to trade back, which I said going into the draft. A lot of Jaguars experts said going into the draft, we were going to trade back. It was so obvious that this team wanted to acquire more draft capital, and they did just that. So the Jaguars traded back from 17 to 23 with the Minnesota Vikings, and here's what they acquired. They not only got their 2024 first-round pick at 23 overall, they also got a 2024 fifth-round pick, which I believe is at 167 overall in this year's draft. And then next year, they have Minnesota's 2025 third-round pick and 2025 fourth-round pick. You acquired 3 extra picks. That is a great fleece, and that is great practice by Trent Baalke. The analytics always say you take more bites at the apple and you try to get more draft capital, and that's what they did. And they took Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver from LSU, with the 23rd overall pick. I could not be more excited to get Brian Thomas Jr. in here. He was the first player I publicly announced after going through all of my film evaluations, and as I was continuing to study more prospects, Brian Thomas Jr. was the first player that I said, hey, this is going to be my guy that I'm going to push for to come to Jacksonville back in March. I think I said it back on March 5th and on March 13th. I had pushed it even more. I was like, look, Brian Thomas Jr., you're going to be a Jaguar. If we don't retain Calvin Ridley, which we didn't, we were going to get Brian Thomas Jr. because the likelihood of us going up to get one of the top 3 elite wide receivers in this draft class was slim to none. Now, let's talk about how impressive this was for the Jaguars to land Brian Thomas Jr. because take a look at this. Brian Thomas Jr. is the first wide receiver taken in the first round by the Jaguars since Justin Blackmon in 2012. And to give you perspective, I was, 11 years old. I had just turned 11 years old when we took Justin Blackmon, and that was actually the first Jaguars jersey I physically bought and saved up with my own money as a kid. He's the 5th wide receiver the Jaguars have drafted in the first round. None of the previous 4, Justin Blackmon, Matt Jones, Ray J. Soward, Reggie Williams, have ever eclipsed 2,500 career receiving yards, and I can guarantee you in 2.5 seasons, Brian Thomas Jr. is absolutely going to eclipse 2,500 receiving yards with the Jaguars, assuming he stays healthy. And another thing that I absolutely love about this pick is not only are we getting our wide receiver 1 of the future, he doesn't have to be a wide receiver 1 immediately. Brian Thomas Jr. not only found himself in a perfect situation with a franchise quarterback, an ascending team, and an offensive-minded head coach, he comes into a situation with great veteran players with guys like Gabe Davis, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, and he's not asked to be the wide receiver one. I forgot to mention Zay Jones as well too. He can come in and just continue to be a dynamic piece that's going to help take this offense to a whole nother level. Similar to Gabe Davis, this is a guy that is a vertical threat, a guy that can get down the field, 6'3", 210 pounds, 4.33 speed at the 40-yard dash. His game speed is incredible. He's going to take the top off of a defense, and Brian Thomas Jr. is a guy that has that yak ability, a guy that could run an underneath route, 5-6 yards, incredible agility, great feel for the game, especially in the middle of the field, and can just break a 5, 6, 7-yard crossing route and take it 60 yards to the house. This guy is going to help open up this Jaguars offense tremendously. And to get a guy that can physically dominate on the outside, especially smaller corners, he can high point the ball, and he's just an athletic freak. This guy is going to be sensational for this Jaguars team, and like I said, I cannot overemphasize it enough. He doesn't have to come in and be pressured to be a wide receiver one. Take a look at a guy like Xavier Legette, who went 32 overall to the Carolina Panthers. He's going to be playing with Adam Thielen and, goodness gracious, I can't think of the other Carolina receivers off the top of my head. But he's going to be asked to do a lot more because they don't have as deep of a wide receiver core as the Jacksonville Jaguars do, especially for a young guy. Brian Thomas Jr., Doug Peterson talked about it last night in the press conference after the draft. He said that they're going to find ways to scheme this guy open, make sure that they can get him the ball in easy looks, easy opportunities, and that's exactly what you need to do for a young wide receiver who, like I said, is going to help exponentially open up this offense. You've now got Gabe Davis on the outside and Brian Thomas Jr. on the outside. You can keep Christian Kirk in the slot as one of the best slot wide receivers in football. You got Evan Ingram across the middle, Travis Etienne out of the backfield, and you still got depth pieces with guys like Zay Jones, Parker Washington, and Devin Duvernay. And let's also re-sign Jamal Agnew. But now you've got one of the best wide receiver cores in football. Hopefully Doug Peterson will take back full-time play calling, which I assume that he will, and I would trust that the offense is going to look significantly better if this starting lineup on the offensive line of Cam Robinson, Brandon Sheriff, Ezra Cleveland, Mitch Morse, and Anton Harrison can stay healthy. This is going to be a dangerous offense because that is ultimately what was the biggest reason as to the Jaguars' downfall last season. And not to be too long-winded with this, but let me kind of finish up talking about Brian Thomas Jr. and what he did at LSU last season. Absolutely sensational. In 2023, Brian Thomas Jr. recorded 68 receptions, 1,177 yards, had 17 touchdowns, which led all of college football. And Brian Thomas Jr. had a 6.7% drop rate in 2023, a 53.8% contested catch rate, and he caught 78.2% of his targets, which averaged 17.3 yards per catch. This guy is an athletic freak, a dynamic specimen, and I'm so excited to get this guy here into Jacksonville. And the last thing I want to say before I let you guys get out of here is I will go ahead and do a full Brian Thomas Jr. draft profile breakdown and film breakdown, but I'm only going to do it on the Patreon, so make sure you guys go ahead and check that out if you guys want to see more in-depth content and film breakdowns that I'm going to be doing. So make sure you guys go ahead and check it out. I will go ahead and put that link in the description down below for you guys. But Jags fans, please let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below about us taking Brian Thomas Jr., getting him here to Jacksonville, and hopefully Trent Baalke can continue to make more positive noise for the Jaguars. Hopefully we can move up into the second round tonight and take Johnny Newton or Kool-Aid McKinstry, maybe even Jackson Powers-Johnson. I would love to get a handful of these guys. And Jags fans, I hope you guys enjoy rounds 2 and 3 tonight. I hope you guys have a great time. I'm going to try to keep you guys as posted as possible. But Jags fans, thanks again for sticking around throughout the whole video. Brett James, aka BJ, I'm out, y'all. And like always, let's go Jags.